to people who signed up for this class. If you want to participate, please keep your camera on. And when teacher Quentin is talking, please mute your microphone. But if you have something to say, please unmute your microphone. We had to get into the habit of muting and unmuting our microphone all the time. All right, so I heard some background noise, and so during the first class, I would like to tell people that please pay attention to your microphone. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I just muted someone. All
Oh,
right, so we will wait for 10 more seconds.
okay.
If we don't see your camera on, then we will just move on and let's get started, okay? Oh, Sarita, please keep your camera on if you want to participate. All right, let's get started.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our adult summer session. So it is good to see you all. This is going to be a little bit different, I think, for many of the observers because most of our classes, with the exception of some over the winter break, have all been with children. So having adults in class and maybe a few people with a little more English experience and maybe a little higher level of English language will be different, a different experience. So I'm very excited to work with you all over the next several weeks, and hopefully, yeah, we'll learn a lot from me and then also from each other. So, just to get started here, I think can everyone see the presentation on my screen? Is it coming through?
No?
Oh, give me just one moment, please.
Take
I'm
your time.
sorry. I it's open for me, but that's not the most important part. It needs to be open for everyone else.
Did you connect it with your Skype?
I
Did
thought I did, but let's
Oh,
see.
yeah,
Okay.
now we can
Okay.
see your presentation on the screen.
Okay. Great. So, as this says, it's our adult class for summer 2021, so welcome. And we'll get started first with just a few introductions. Um, and so, first, hopefully everything will load. This is interesting. Um, but okay, we'll continue on. So, just a little bit about me to introduce myself. As Luke mentioned, my name is Quentin, and so I grew up in a city of Kansas City, Missouri, in the United States. But I consider Los Angeles my American home. I had lived in Los Angeles for about 5 or 6 years prior to moving internationally, and I that's my favorite city that I've lived in the United States. So definitely I consider Los Angeles my American home. But currently, I do live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So I recently, about 9 months ago, I moved to Mexico and have been here ever since. So I really enjoy it, and it's been a great ride so far here in Mexico. So a little bit of a couple of additional things. So I do have a background in corporate America. So that's where most of my work experience comes from about 10 years or so of working in corporate America in accounting, in finance, also in some consulting. So, about a year ago, I received my TEFL certificate, and I've been on this new career path with all of you. So, I really enjoy it, and I've been having a great time helping out with Luke in these classes. So, yeah. And now I would like to learn a little bit more about all of you in the class, since we will be with each other for several weeks. I think it would be cool if we all get to know each other just a little bit more before we get into the heart of our lessons. So, let's do a little introduction of all of the people in the class, the students in the class who want to participate. So, in this introduction, we'll play a little game. So I want everyone to, of course, say their name and your occupation. Now, I know and I do believe that many of you are teachers. And so if you happen to be a teacher, please do tell us where you teach and what grade you teach. And also what subject. That's another thing I didn't put here. What subject you teach. And then for the game, I would like to play a quick round of two truths and a lie. Has anyone heard of that game before? You can raise your hand if you've heard of that. Okay, good. I was hoping that many of you have. So, think about your two truths and a lie that you want to tell the class, and we will start there. So, I'll give everyone just a minute or two to think of that, and then we'll start our introductions. Okay. And if anyone already knows your three things, two truths and one lie, then feel free to get started. I'll give people a couple of minutes though.
And Quentin, could you give your example?
Oh, sure. Okay. Let's see. So we know my name is Quentin. I am now a teacher as well. So I teach with Luke, and then I also teach children on a couple of online platforms as well. And two truths and a lie. So I have I have been to Europe. I have a pet dog named Emma, and I love to play tennis. Which one do you think is a lie? Anyone want to guess my lie? Oh, Eden.
You've been to European?
Okay, that is true. I have been to Europe, so that is not my lie. Okay, who else wants to guess? 50-50 chance. Andrea, what do you think? Which one is the lie? I have a pet dog named Emma, or I love to play tennis. Which one's my lie?
You don't have a dog, right?
No, just kidding. No, that is right. Andrea, you are correct. I do not have a dog. So it was kind of a half. It was kind of a half. I used to have a dog named Emma, but my parents loved her so much too. And when I decided to move to Mexico, they kept my dog. So I no longer have a dog named Emma, but I used to. So sort of half true, a half lie. So okay, who's next? How about I haven't heard. How about Claire? Claire, would you like to go first with our with just to introduce yourself and your two truths? Oh, actually, we have some volunteers too. Eden, and you raised your hand if you'd like to go. Go right ahead.
So I start first.
Yeah, go ahead, Eden.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Eden, and so far I'm staying at home because of COVID-19 to help my family career. And I've been to uh, European, and I like to play badminton. Also, I like to baking in my free time. That's it.
Okay. So would anyone like to guess her lie? What's the lie? Hmm. Oh, go ahead, Fortuna.
I think the lie is that she loves baking.
Oh.
Oh, that is true one.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Okay, 50-50 chance. Who wants to guess? Which one's the lie? We have 2 more options. All right, Andrea.
I think the line is play badminton.
That is also a true one.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, so no one got yours right. You tricked us all. Okay, good. Well, very good. All right, who's next? How about Claire? You want to go now? You'll be our second player tonight.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Claire, and I'm a graduate student now. And here are my 2 truths and a lie. The first one is I have 2 brothers. And the second one is I keep a diary every day. And the last one is when I was young, I wanted to marry a singer.
Hmm. All right, Andrea, you know. You
I think the line is when you are young, you want to marry with a singer.
True.
That one is true. She had her sights on world tours and getting serenaded by her new husband. Okay, let's see. So who else has a guess? Eden.
I think that is you have 2 brothers.
That's true. I have 2 brothers.
What? Well, goodness. All right. So we know you're live, and we're not doing too well tonight. We're not very good guessers at this game so far. All right. So Eden and Claire fooled us. They have both fooled us. All right. So Fortuna, how about you? Oh, you're still muted.
Okay. Sorry. I just I didn't mean to click on the button. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
So is it my turn to introduce myself or okay.
Yep.
Hello everyone, I'm Fortuna. I am an English teacher. I teach 7th graders and 8th graders in Miaoli County, and Miaoli is a rural county, so we just want to give our students a lot of resources. And then I want to share something with you. I really love dogs. I have a kid, and I also enjoy cooking for my family. This is my self-introduction.
Okay. So what is the lie? Let's see if we do better this time. Hmm. All right. How about Andrea?
You have a child. It's a line.
No, that is true. That is true.
Okay. Eden, I think you had a guess.
I think the lie is you love dogs.
That is true. I really love dogs.
Okay, so you are not a cook. You don't like to cook for your family. That's the
I
one.
can I can cook. That is my responsibility, but I don't like to cook at all.
Okay. Yes. Well, I tell you, I think it was not until very recently, maybe over the last year or two, that I've started to like cooking. I used to just do it as a chore too, just something I had to do, but now I enjoy it.
But I like my husband to cook for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for sharing. And do we have anyone else? I know I do see some more people on the screen, but maybe they are not participating because their cameras are off. Is there anyone else that would like to participate in today's class besides the four who have shared so far? Okay. If I do happen to miss anyone, just raise your hand or holler. We'll make sure to come back to you in just a few so you can introduce yourself. But welcome to our four who introduced themselves. I'm very excited for this summer course and to help you all with learning a little more English, and we'll go through some things here. So I'm very excited. Okay. So next, I'd like to just talk about a few goals and objectives. So this class today will be a little bit of discussion because I want to get a sense of the types of things that you all are looking for. Also, I do have a general plan of what I thought we could discuss in our summer together, but I also want to make sure that if there's anything specific that one, two, or maybe all of you would like to know a little bit more about or like to dig into, we can also do that. So, if everyone could just take a few minutes to think about a couple of things. First, think about one or two things that you feel you do well when using English. And so, when do you feel the most comfortable using English? And then I just want to know one or two things or one or two areas where you want to do better or you want to become more efficient at using English. And so, some examples of what I'm thinking or what I am looking for is maybe you want to practice your listening skills more, or maybe you want more vocabulary that since I think we do have a couple of teachers, just an example, maybe instructional vocabulary in English. So how do we give classroom instruction and things of that nature? So just think about one or two things. Take a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and talk about some of your goals and some of the areas that you're hoping to improve over the next few weeks. Mm. Okay, so let's start. Fortuna, I can see you at the top left of my screen. So let's start with you. Um,
Mhm.
you're in the lucky spot. So,
Yeah.
so what are a couple of things that you think that you do well, or that you feel confident with your English?
Okay. Actually, I started to learn English in junior high school, and I have no extra cramming course in cram schools. So I study English by myself, and but I really like to learn English. So that is why I'm an English teacher. So when I am feel that I can do very well, that is when I'm teaching my students in English. And at first, I'm not so very confident of myself, but later, I just keep practicing using English in whole English in my teaching class and find that speaking English is not so difficult, and I can also provide an English listening environment with my students. So I feel that I can do very well when using English. And after I got married, I had a kid now. I try my best to speak English, to read stories, picture books to my kids. And at that time, we really enjoy listening to English and speaking English. So that made me feel that I can do well to speak English. And I also think that because in Taiwan, there is no English speaking environment. So I have to find different kinds of opportunities to practice my English speaking. And that is my the improvement that I have to make recently.
Okay, that makes sense. So, since you're an English teacher, you've gotten a lot of practice with a lot of the
Yes.
words and speaking to your students and things, so you feel very comfortable there. But just practicing regular kind of everyday conversations maybe
Yes.
isn't something that you get to do very often.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Fortuna. I'm
You're
sure
welcome.
that your other classmates may have some similar weaknesses because I know that is the speaking part is definitely one of the hardest if you don't have a lot of people to practice with. So makes
Yes.
it difficult.
Yes.
All right. Andrea, how about you?
Uh, I think when I teach kids some English vocabulary and sentence patterns, I feel the most comfortable using English. But I work in the elementary school, and my school is from remote school, so I didn't speak all English in my class. And I also want to practice my English oral and English skills. So from this class, I would like to maybe read some new articles and learn some vocabulary, and I hope I can speak fluently in the future. Thank you.
All right, exciting. Okay. So similar to what Fortuna said, when teaching, you feel definitely confident there. But and you mentioned another one too, reading more articles and learning more vocabulary, which reading is an excellent way that we can learn some more vocabulary just by picking out words that we don't recognize or trying to figure them out even through context. So. Um, thank you very much, Andrea. Appreciate that. Okay, and we had Eden and I think I saw Claire as well, but Eden, I don't see them anymore. Eden, would you like to let us know your things that you do well and also want to improve with your English?
I'm I'm not a teacher, so I didn't have some experience of all both of you said. But I do confidence when I taking my family travel to foreign country by using English, and also talking about my habits and get a good price on the um, competitive in English conversation. But the weakness things I think is I'm very weak to talk about to give a professional presentation as well when doing work. That make me very anxiety, very anxious, and yeah, I should overcome about that.
Okay. All right. Well, that I tell you, you're not alone there. I think, giving presentations especially can be very nerve-wracking, and give a lot of anxiety. So you're not alone there. Okay, so professional presentations, and that's good because that is something that I plan to cover in our first few classes here. So that sounds like something we should still keep on our list of topics. Okay, and Claire, how about you?
I feel comfortable when I chat with my friends or the times that when I taught the students in elementary school. I like to teach them English when speaking English or give them some English environments. And the things that I need to improve is that my listening and speaking skills, because sometimes we don't have much input like speaking and listening environments. So I think if I can understand people well, then I can speak well. So that's why I want to improve my listening and speaking skills, and then I can share my ideas very clearly. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. No, that's perfect. And so what I'm hearing a lot of in from all of you is definitely a focus on speaking and some listening. That was something that in one way or another, every person mentioned wanting to do a little bit better with. And even for myself, one of the reasons why I chose Mexico as the first place that I would live internationally is because I've been also trying to learn Spanish. And so I definitely understand when you don't have any Spanish language around you or English language around you, or when you don't get that opportunity to hear it in a more natural setting, it's very hard to pick up. It can be. So, hopefully we will get a lot more of that in this class, and I'll be able to give you all a lot of opportunities to both listen and work on listening comprehension and speaking to get a little more comfortable with that. Okay. Well, excellent. I'm glad that I know a little bit more about your goals and what you're comfortable and more and less comfortable with. So now let's move into our objectives for the summer course, or at least the first part. So one topic which I think will still work based on the things that you've just told me you wanted to work on is I wanted to do a little bit of a meetings series. And so this is going to focus exactly on um on what Eden wanted to do with the presentations and being more comfortable with speaking in presentations this meeting series. So the first thing that we'll cover, and we'll start tonight, are key features of an effective meeting and controlling or structuring a meeting. And so here we'll talk about a little bit of language about things that we should have in our meetings or when we set up a meeting, that those things, and then also just words and languages that we would use to control a meeting. So if you are the person who is leading the meeting, then there is some language that you can use to both control the meeting based on the timing, the tempo, moving through different topics. And so those are the types of things that we'll focus on for that topic. Next, we'll talk a little bit about opening meetings and keeping to the point. And so this is something that, especially with opening a meeting, it will depend on your environment. It will depend on formality, if it's a formal professional meeting, or if it's just a meeting that's more casual, even between coworkers. We can have different levels of formality. So we'll discuss that. Next, how to interrupt, elicit ideas, and control the floor, manage speakers. This one, out of all four bullet points, this one is the one that I want to pay particular attention to because I think that this is one of the hardest things, especially as a non-native or speaking a second language, that is hard for people to do. To know when it's appropriate to interrupt, to know what to say when you want to interrupt someone, if you're interrupted, what to say or how to approach being interrupted or being asked a question in the middle of what you're saying. And so that'll be one of the things that that we'll really focus on. And then of course, obtaining consistent consensus or making a decision in closing. And so this kind of all of our meetings that we have typically have some type of point to why we're having the meeting. And so how do we make sure that we can get to that point and make any necessary decisions that we might need to in our meeting? So those are some of the things that I would like to cover, at least in the first few weeks. Since we do have several weeks, I definitely want to make sure that we get a lot of practice. And so, generally, how I see this course or this series going is I would like to spend some time going over some topics or concepts, then do some exercises, which may be either discussion, listening comprehension, and then I definitely want to get us practicing and doing a lot of role playing and scenarios, things of that nature, so that you can also practice and try to make it a real life type of scenario, something that you would potentially encounter in your professional or recreational life. But most of this will be professional since we're talking about meetings and things. So does anyone have any questions about our objectives or some of the things that we may discuss during the first few weeks of this summer? Okay, great. Okay, so now we're going to start the features of an effective meeting and just start talking about meetings in general. So I know this is a little small, so I will zoom in a little bit, but what makes a successful meeting? So just before we you read too many bullets, does anyone want to just tell me in their own words what they feel makes a successful meeting? And this doesn't have to just be a successful meeting in English. We're just talking overall if you're having a meeting. Fortuna, go ahead.
I think if we want to have an effective meeting, that means we have to have a very clear objectives in the meeting, and then we have a very well organized schedule, and then the meeting can end on time.
Okay. So do you think that ending a meeting or making sure that we keep to the scheduled time of the meeting is an important aspect of having an effective meeting?
Yes, we have the meetings. The leader of the meeting should control the time very well, and that other people discuss the issue very efficiently, and then we can efficiently end the meeting.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. All right. So you covered a couple of our points here that I have in bullets. Does anyone, before we start going through some of these, does anyone else have any other ideas about what makes an effective meeting that maybe you don't see listed here? I'll zoom in. Did you want to add another point, Fortuna? That was
No.
okay. It was probably just an accident. No worries. Okay. So let's begin talking about just a few of these. So assigned roles. So the first word there, facilitator. Does every Andrea, do you know what the facilitator of the meeting is? Are you familiar with that word? Could you tell us who the facilitator is or what they do in a meeting?
I think facilitator maybe a presenter.
Yeah, that was a good guess. Yeah. It is sort of like the presenter or the leader. So Fortuna mentioned in her response that whoever is leading the meeting should make sure that we have clear objectives, that we stick to we keep our discussion on those objectives and not vary off too much. So a facilitator is one of the words I have here. A facilitator. That's another way to say a leader of the meeting. So, and the facilitator, we can use it in a context of not just a meeting. People facilitate lots of things. So, if I were holding a conference, so I'm going to have Quentin's English conference here in Puerto Vallarta. I would be a facilitator. I would be someone who's putting on the conference, who is organizing the conference. I'm the facilitator. And so we can use that word to really mean anyone who is the organizer, the leader, the person who is putting on an event is the facilitator. What about a minute taker? Is anyone familiar with that? The minute taker in a meeting. Oh yeah, go ahead, Andrea.
I want to guess. Maybe a meter taking is control whole time during the conference.
Okay, that's a good guess. That's a good guess. And it's any other. It's you're on the right track, but is it any other guesses to what a minute taker is? Yep, go ahead, Eden.
I think it's note taker.
Yeah, exactly. A minute or a note taker. Good. Yeah, so the note taker minutes, if we say the word minutes, that is a word that is also means in this context the notes. So if someone is taking the minutes or if someone is the minute taker, they are taking notes. So they're writing down things that happen in the meeting. Also, sometimes people have a position within an organization or a group, and they may be the secretary of the organization. So maybe if I belong to a professional organization. Sometimes we have a secretary, a treasurer, a president. So the secretary is the person who keeps all the notes and makes sure that when after the meeting, people know what happened. So let's say, we have class tonight and Fortuna wasn't able to make our class. If the minute taker took good notes, then Fortuna will know what we covered in class. And so that's the minute taker or taking minutes or even the secretary. That's that position. Can anyone else think of just any other roles in meetings that you have been to or have been a part of? Are there any other roles that we have in a meeting? So we have the leader, facilitator, we've got the minute taker or secretary. What else? Are there any other jobs or roles? There's one key one. All the other people. Yeah, Fortuna. Go ahead.
I'm not sure. Is that a role? In our meeting, there are always some people who can offer coffee, drinks, or cookies with the participants.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I want to come to more meetings at your organization because that sounds very nice. Um, but so I think what I was thinking of, and maybe that's not exactly a role of the meeting,
Yeah.
although it could be. But you did say one of the
Yeah.
roles in a meeting, the participants.
Yes.
The participants. So those are all the other people in the meeting. But those people are important to your meeting because to be an effective meeting, you want to have the attention of the participants and you want to have participation from the participants.
Yes.
And so they are a very important part of our meetings, not to be forgotten. That's why we have a meeting, is for the participants. So very good. Okay. And now another thing, Fortina, that you mentioned was a clear objective. So the objective or the purpose, why we're having this meeting, we want to make sure that it's a clear objective, meaning that and to be a clear objective, it has to have an output or what we hope to gain from having this meeting. So I've listed a few different options here. So meetings, there are four listed here, but there are other reasons why people have meetings. But four main categories that most meetings fit into. One is brainstorming. Is that a familiar word, brainstorming, for everyone? Okay, so brainstorming, just thinking of ideas. We have a meeting because we want to think of ideas, brainstorming. And then of course, decision making. So we have a meeting because we have this question or we have these options and we need to make a decision. So we have a meeting. Informative. I'm sure we've all been to those, the meetings that are just meant to give information. So maybe this meeting, we just have some new policies, or there is even sometimes maybe new personnel has come to a company or come to work with you. And so you have a meeting that's informative to tell you about things. Or problem solving. And problem solving and brainstorming are most times, usually if you're having a problem solving meeting, you're brainstorming ideas of how to solve the problem. So those are very similar. But for these different types of meetings, how do you think they will differ? And by that I mean, how do you think the communication in these meetings will differ? So if you're having a brainstorming meeting, and you're the leader, you're the facilitator, and you're doing a brainstorming meeting, how might that differ in your communication than if it were, let's say, an informative meeting? How would those be different? So for these, think about what the purpose of the meeting is. So let's think about brainstorming. We're thinking of ideas about a topic. And then for informative, we're just providing information. So if we're the leader or the facilitator, how might our communication be different in these two meetings? And I'm thinking about the interaction. Okay, Fortuna.
I think for the part of brainstorming, the leader will ask a lot of open questions to the participant. And then for the informative form, the leader will just say, okay, today we have something to tell you, A and B, C. We will have the sentence pattern just like affirmative way to tell the participants the following things.
Yes, yes. And so a follow-up question, of those two, which one do you think which one do you think would it be harder to stay on time, to keep your meeting in the time frame?
I think the brainstorming part could delay the meeting schedule more.
Yes, yes, it definitely could cause more delays. And so the reason I wanted to point this out and talk to you about those is because that's why having a clear objective for the meeting is so important. Because our objective of the meeting is going to drive the other elements of the meeting that we need to pay attention to. So in this example, the brainstorming, I'm going to want to, as the facilitator of the meeting, I'm going to want to have a lot of those questions thought of ahead of time. I'm going to want to come to the meeting with, here is our issue. Here's where we're trying to get and some possible options. Let's start thinking about this. Because as a facilitator, the brainstorming, I may have to help people get the brainstorming going. Sometimes, it's an 8 a.m. meeting and no one's had their coffee yet. People might not be ready to brainstorm it and may have a hard time getting started. Whereas with an informative meeting, you have a different issue. With an informative meeting, since you're the one talking most of the time and you don't really anticipate having a lot of back and forth interaction between yourself and the participants, then you have a different issue that you have to worry about. Maybe not so much will people participate in asking questions. Maybe now you have to think about your presentation if you can keep people's attention. Because if you don't vary your voice or you don't mix things up or have some element that keeps people's focus, then you can lose your audience or you can lose the participants of the meeting. So great job. Okay. And so these are the types of things that we'll start to get into a little bit more in our next class. This was just a brush of the surface. So um, I believe that everyone should have received an invitation to our Google Classroom. And so I'll use the Google Classroom to put assignments or to put readings or activities that we will do in class. And so check on there. I will be putting a small assignment, but really what I want to do, I want to prepare us to have more discussion next week. And so I'm going to give you all a scenario of a meeting and then have you all start to think about how you would open the meeting. And so essentially, I will give you sort of a fictitious or a thought of what you would need to have a meeting about. And then I want you all to come up with like your open and how you would start that meeting and get the meeting going as if you were the facilitator. And so that'll start to be our start to our next class where we can start to talk more about opening meetings and the language that we use when opening a meeting. Okay? All right. Any questions for me? All right. Luke, did you have any last minute
Okay.
words?
So I posted a class code, and please go to our group chat, scroll up, find the class code, and join our Google Classroom. And Quentin spent a lot of time trying to help with your homework. And sometimes he will send you an email or make some comments. So make sure that you check out your Google Classroom and see what comments you have from him, okay? All right, I think it's about time. And we want to say thank you so much for this great class. So let's unmute a microphone and say thank you. So everybody, please say thank you to Quentin.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Quentin.
Thank
Quentin.
you.
No problem. I look forward to it. I'll see you next week.
Okay,
See you.
bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. See
Bye
you.
bye.
See
See
you.
you, Quentin. Bye bye.